ooh, I want to grow with a person. Right?
Yes.
They're the catalyst to your evolution. Millennials are the most single generation of all time.
A lot of the pressure that men feel in dating is the need to really perform.
All right. Welcome, everybody. I'm Jem.
And I'm Renee.
And we're the intellectuals. And oh my goodness. Renee,
we're doing
we're
it.
finally doing it. It's crazy.
Look at us.
It's
Who would have thought?
Not me. That's crazy. We're here finally after 7 years.
Yes.
7 years in the making. We're finally doing it.
We are finally starting the podcast that we've been saying we would do.
It's wild. It's kind of surreal. I don't feel like I'm actually here.
It's kind of like the vacation that you plan in like the group chats with your friends that never leaves the group
happens.
chats.
Yeah,
Except now it's left the group chat and now we're here.
We're in Tahiti. We're like in the sand. We feel it in our feet. It's like crazy. It's like, oh my goodness, am I really here?
Right.
Is the sun really beating
real?
on my face? It's not.
It is.
I'm in a living room.
Oh, right.
I mean, that's what's happening right now. Crazy girl. What are you talking about?
Studio lighting. Oh, right. Never mind.
No, that's just the studio lights. Oh my God. But no, it's really good. It's really good. I'm excited.
Yeah,
I'm excited. I'm a little sweaty, but we're here making it happen.
Yeah,
we're
here.
Feel?
We're doing it. I feel a little nervous. I'm not gonna lie. I think it'll be. I've never shared my thoughts so often or in such a long way on the internet. So I'm really speaking to people.
We talk all the time.
Exactly.
Like,
it doesn't leave
out there public. Now people are gonna judge me for what I'm thinking.
Oh no,
that's terrifying.
Exactly.
He says after being on the internet in public for 3 years,
for so long. But that's the thing, is that I've never really in like a huge way, you know, have like spoken on the internet. And you can blame my mother actually for that fear, because she was the one who told me when I told her I was starting a podcast. She was like, well, you know, be careful about that, because you know, you're going to be sharing all your thoughts and exposing yourself on the internet, and that can be exposing your opinions and for people to judge you.
What problematic things are you believing?
That is what I said. I was like, well, thanks for that, mother. Now
I have a new complex. Yeah. Another thing I have to get over. Thank you,
add
Mom.
That to the things that give me anxiety.
But anyways.
How are you feeling, Jem?
I'm feeling great. Way better. I'm excited. Like I said, I'm super excited, and I'm ready just to
do it.
Unload on the world. Yeah, yikes. Wow. That phrasing. See, maybe I'm the one that needs to worry about what I'm saying to the world, but it's okay. Yeah. I'm going to roll with it. No apologies. We'll edit all these things out. Oh, my goodness.
I'm take it and leave.
You know, oh, my. But let the people know. Renee Lynn.
All right, we're starting.
How would you pitch yourself to the audience? Who are you?
Who am I? Well, I would probably say first and foremost, I am a model. I think that is what I'm most known for on the interwebs, is me modeling and pursuing modeling in the wider Los Angeles area.
Very nice. LA girl, yes. City girls up. Hey.
Yeah, LA girl for like only the last like year and a half actually. I haven't lived here very long. Yeah, I guess. Yes. But yeah, I mean, I obviously post a lot about my modeling stuff. I'm very into sustainability, particularly sustainable fashion, which is a fun topic that I like to dive into.
It's all the rage these days with our planet on the fritz.
Exactly, 100%. It's everyone is definitely into the sustainability stuff, and I think that's good. I think it's good that everyone's making an effort in that regard. It is a little ironic though that I do work in the fashion industry. Maybe not, and I am a supporter of sustainable fashion.
What better way to leave an impact?
Yeah, let me tell the people I'm getting paid that the clothing I'm modeling is from China and that it's bad. I'm not going to see that check.
That makes a lot of sense to me. Take a stand. Be the Greta Thunberg of the fashion industry. You got it.
All right. So anyways. But yeah, that's pretty much it. I have a meager but strong following on TikTok. Solid 3,000 I just recently got.
Well, congrats.
And I am
about to get banned.
and you're right. Damn it.
We're so close.
I work so hard.
But
it's fine. It's fine. But yeah, that's pretty much me. What about you, Jem? Tell me about yourself.
Ooh. Have to just.
There's just so many things. There's such a complex,
oh my goodness.
multifaceted
how do
human.
I filter everything that I am?
It's just so much.
That's crazy. Wait a minute. What are you talking about? Hey,
I am being sarcastic.
Oh no, I can't understand sarcasm. That's insane. Yeah, we're off to a great start. This is going to be amazing. Oh my goodness. Start. But who am I? I am. Some of you actually might know who I am already.
Start there.
Yeah, maybe you guys know who I am.
I think they know better than you. Maybe.
Very, very familiar. We can make it happen. Hey, yeah. Kind of a budding food internet personality. Yes. Have a lot of fun doing that, and I sometimes moonlight as a pseudo therapist for my friends. So here we are, and I want to share my opinions with the world.
Moonlight.
Yeah, it's not my day job.
Right. You're not getting paid for it either.
No.
And
free
people spring it on you.
Entire life. Can you imagine? But now I'm here. I'm trying to give all my free advice to all of you. So maybe it helps everyone else because my friends never listen to me. Here we are. So
I listen to you.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes, get it. Okay. And if anybody does, it's you. Actually,
I was gonna say. I feel like there have been moments maybe I haven't, but I listen to you.
For the most part.
Yeah,
cool.
I got you.
Let's just agree.
Yeah.
Smiling nod. She's giving me the death glare. That's scary.
You better say.
Oh my God.
Oh my gosh, that's funny. Well, yeah, I guess that is the intro. Though I do think with the introductions, that kind of begs the question, and it brings a massive elephant, if you will, into this room.
A massive elephant?
Yeah.
Is there a small? Can you have a small elephant, Olivia?
No, only massive ones exist, to my knowledge, actually, unless they're baby elephants, Jem.
Even those are pretty massive.
Right, to human standards. But the question being, why is a food TikToker and a model starting a podcast?
That is the age-old question. Not even age-old. That's like a modern philosophical dilemma. Why? How does that happen?
It's almost too niche.
A little bit, yeah. Like, how do we even meet each other? That's
how do we
crazy.
know?
Like I said, it's been going on for 7 years.
Yes.
You want to tell a story? Do you want me to have a crack at it?
I guess I'll start it off. 7 years ago. Four scores. So dumb. Jem and I met in college when I was a first year joining an a cappella group on campus.
We got any singers out there?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. See, that's why we had her on there. That's crazy.
That was
Still got the pipes.
That was the moment in the audition that got me the job.
She's replaying it for you in real time.
Exactly,
That's crazy.
Exactly. Yes, and Jem was the music director, 4th year college student, and I think he decided to take me on under his wing, so to speak.
I saw something in her that she didn't quite see in herself yet.
Aww,
and I took it upon myself to force her to look at it straight in the face so she could be better than what she was at the time.
Right. And he means that literally, because I was
100%
constantly being challenged.
Being harassed.
Friendship with Jem, let me paint a picture for you.
No.
It is a test. It is a constant test. And not just any test, it's those mathematic multiplication tests that you
AP
take in the third grade.
Oh, third grade tests.
No, those like timed multiplication tests that you have to
2
take.
minutes?
Yeah.
Go through rows 1 through 8 and all the multiplication all the way to 12.
That is what a friendship was.
6 times 4, go.
Oh my God, 24?
Wow, that took way too long. You lied. It's 24.
Oh, I got it? Okay.
You got it right. Thank God we should not be questioning if it's correct.
PTSD flashbacks.
Oh, man. That really is how it was for you. That's crazy.
Yeah, that's my perspective. The beginning of it, but it was good. I really enjoyed it. I thought it was very fun.
She has a propensity for suffering or something like that.
We're not going to go into that at this moment.
No further comments at this time.
No further comments. I plead the 5th, Your Honor.
Yo, that's crazy. But no, we stuck it out 7 years.
Yeah.
And we always had the most intense and drawn out and fulfilling conversations I think I've ever had with any other person. Because I love talking. Yes. I love hearing the sound of my voice. That's why I created an internet personality. It is what it is.
And now here we are.
But people that can keep up with my pacing and the ideas and also add like value to the things I'm thinking about. Renee was the only one.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Yeah, no, I think for me, I think I always knew I was smart. But I think you were one of the first friends that I had that I think one would ask me genuinely challenging questions where I don't know, where I actually would have to think, or I would actually have to provide like an opinion. I'm like, oh, this is an opinion that I have, et cetera, et cetera.
And at the same time, we like disagreed on so many things.
Wait, yeah.
We don't agree on like hardly anything. And it's like, because we have the ability to communicate our ideas, it ended up being like a really, really useful like conversation. It's like, oh, how like valuable and how cool is it to find someone who's one, not afraid to like disagree with a person, articulates herself so well. Then also at the same time is like not judging you for disagreeing.
Right.
It's a very rare ability.
And this day and age,
right.
We don't need to say more.
That's why we're starting this podcast.
Exactly.
Because at the end of the day, you've heard all the stuff that people are talking about, especially in the relationships field. It's like you hear the four same conversations: splitting bills, who pays on the first date, what else do they do? OnlyFans, what makes a man, masculinity and whatnot.
Right.
And the list goes on. That's all people talk about. And I just found it so boring. I'm just bored. Like, how many times? It is
the same things over and over again.
Like, and also at the end of the day, there's no generalization that you can have for that specific, those things that they're talking about. It's like, who are we going to split the bills? I mean, if you need to split the bills,
like, goddamn,
split the bill. Like that. If that's the extent of your relationship capacity,
right.
I think we're doing something wrong. So I wanted this to be our platform, our way to give the world and this arena the nuance that it desperately is craving.
100%. 100%. That is something that like I think everyone can probably like attest to. Like when you go on the internet, it's just so divisive, and a lot of those podcasts or just those people who are like talking on the internet, on TikTok or whatever, like they're saying things because they know it's going to get a rise out of people. It's going to get views. It's going to get likes. And I think there is a space that is necessary where there's some actual like nuance in those conversations and realizing it's a little bit more complex than what people are making it be.
If she talks back, she's not a girl for you. She's for the streets.
Right.
Like,
whoa.
Like
whoa.
what?
Whoa.
Hold on.
Sir, first of all, take away his mic.
Yeah, literally, please.
He does not deserve to
We need to start having a license to carry for microphones.
Right.
Goodness. Are you mentally stable enough to speak into a microphone?
Yes.
Oh, my goodness. But that's also a reason why the title, The Intellectual, that also like kind of ties into it. It's not necessarily us trying to be the voice, the experts on what else like happens.
Wait, we're not?
No. Hey, yo, I didn't know we were confused about this. That's crazy. No, I'm not
just
trying.
kidding.
We're not trying to be experts. There's experts on things, and
totally
in time we'll probably bring them on. But
100%.
Intellectuals, a promise to ourselves to always think critically and give proper consideration to any and all ideas. 1,
100%.
And 2, for you, the viewer, a promise to you to always question our own biases and not fall victim to the flow of conversation that we find. There's the polarizing stuff on the internet for clicks and views and likes and stuff like that. It's like, we can say controversial stuff, but is that valuable? Is that doing anything to like further the conversation that needs to be had?
Yeah. No, you've said it really well. I don't think I could have said it better.
I do have a way with words.
You do have a way with words. That was quite eloquent. That was very good.
So that is that. And we can get right into it.
Yeah, we're getting started.
First episode, actually. What were we talking about?
What are we doing?
What are we talking about today, Olivia? Come on.
I thought you were telling us what we were talking about today.
So for all intents and purposes, we are going to stick with what we find to be our area of expertise.
Yeah.
We feel the most comfortable talking about relationships and the different nuances that comprise everything that happens to be with that. So
yeah.
Starting out with the general topic, dating, right? Because you can't be in a relationship until you start dating.
That must happen, yes.
And going from there.
That's what we're doing. We're talking about relationships, the thing that everyone loves most and hates most.
Yeah, most people in their 20s are still trying to figure out.
Everything that, everyone in their 20s is completely stressed out about. So...
If anything stresses me out, actually, it's usually a girl.
Yeah, well, that's exactly, and that is why we are here today.
And that is why we're here today to talk about my relationship.
Yeah, specifically, we're putting you on the spot, Jem. All right, let's hear it.
Wait. Let's talk about everybody else.
Let's go through a list of your matches.
Well, I was not prepared. I don't even have Hinge downloaded anymore. Oh my God.
Imagine. Oh my God.
That'd be very scary.
Yeah. How embarrassing. Someone's like, whip out your dating app. Let's see all the conversations.
Nah. But I'm sure we all heard about the $3 cheese fiasco.
Oh,
right?
Yeah.
I don't think we have to elaborate on that. That's been circling amongst the internet for the last 2 weeks.
Yes.
And it just calls to my attention a bigger issue that we're dealing with in our society.
Tell us about it, Jen.
I saw a headline, actually. Recent studies have shown that millennials are the most single generation of all time.
Big oof.
Isn't that crazy? It's insane. We have all this technology.
Right.
We have all these ways to connect. We have dating apps with countless options.
Yeah.
And still, we're alone. What is going
on? In this world.
What is going on? I'm confused.
Yeah, that's a pretty scary statistic. I mean, I know you don't have this information, but I'm curious to what information made them make this statement.
Probably like census data, honestly.
Gotcha. Because like we're the least likely to be getting married. Like not as many people are getting married.
That part, and then it's like if you like file your ID in a state, they'll probably ask if you're married or not. People probably check single.
Totally.
Or online surveys. I don't know how they figure it out, but
yeah,
I believe it.
Yeah,
I definitely believe it based just on what the conversations have become on the internet.
Yeah. No, I believe that too. It is. I think a lot of people are saying dating is the hardest that it's ever been, right? I actually do have this tweet.
Yeah. Tell them the tweet.
I would like to bring to attention. I have a tweet, guys.
To bring it to everyone's attention.
Forget about Jem's article, that is scientifically researched article. Yeah. I have a tweet, everyone, that is much more reliable. But there was this tweet where someone, this is like a trend on Twitter that's like kind of popular right now, right? Where people are like, unpopular relationship opinions that would get you in this position, ? And it's like a meme, and it's a meme of the guy from Tangled with all the knives pointing at him. And this guy quote tweets it. His name is Shinzo. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. And he quote tweets it and says, dating right now is probably the hardest and most complicated it's ever been in human history. And the replies under that were just a ton of people like agreeing with that in different ways. They're like, yeah, definitely. It's so difficult. Oh my God. And everyone's saying it's like social media. Everyone's saying it's like the situationship culture. Everyone's saying there is no reason. It should not be this way.
Is it really that much harder though?
Well, that
is the question.
That is the question,
that is
right?
the question that we have to explore.
It's
really, you really have to go back and see what was happening.
Yeah.
How far are we going back? Where it matters.
Right. How far back could we go?
4 scores and 7 years ago.
It was
that's 87 years, which is actually a perfect time to go back. It's like 1930s.
Oh, you actually know the math of that. I had no idea.
A score is 20 years. Yeah. So 4 scores and 7 years ago, wow. Abraham was talking about 1776.
Oh, good for him. Good for him. I did not know that.
Basic U.S. history.
Yes.
Yeah, it's okay. We graduated high school.
Yeah.
It's fine. Flying colors. We went to college.
Yeah.
Crazy.
I know. We got A's. It was funny actually because one of the replies to it was this person. They said, "Oh, really? You want to marry your cousin because she's the only girl in the village?"
I mean,
they were like in response to people being like,
any other options, is it really that bad? Real talk.
I don't know. I feel bad for the girl in the village.
I mean, do you though? She might be really happy.
Yeah, this is true.
They might like have been playing in the sandbox together. It ends up, for all intents and purposes, just being like a childhood, like little thing, high school sweetheart type stuff.
Well, I mean, you do hear like from people who have gotten arranged marriages in the modern age, of how like successful their marriages with their partner.
They report higher levels of satisfaction, contentment, happiness.
So maybe our ancestors were onto something. I don't know.
But there's a few key differences with that versus now, right? Because like you were saying, do you want to marry your cousin in the little village that you're in? Maybe. I mean, that's neither here nor there. But if that's all you know, that's all you can do. And probably not your cousin. There might be some other people, sure. But villages are like 100 people, and you had maybe 4, 5, 10 if you're lucky to choose from. Yeah. Now, fast forward 4 years, you have limitless options. Yeah. And an ability to pursue any of these options with enough resources. Right? If you're from Mexico and you want to hit up a girl from San Francisco, you could do that. And
this is true.
Technology has flattened the distance. Yeah. Now 2 people can meet each other online, find themselves very attractive, and like go over there. Yeah. But how do you know that is like the one? Yeah. Right.
No, this is true. The whole like playing field or platform that dating happens, the chess game, if you will. It's a completely different game than it was even say like 30 years ago. When did the internet have like go into conception?
About 30
years ago. Yeah. So, even from that point until now, the dating space has changed. We have different tools that we use in order to find people to date than we did before. But I will make a tough statement. All right. I don't know if it was a tough statement. I couldn't find the word.
Hot take. It's a hot take. There you go.
I have a hot take.
I'll take a tough statement. And her approximate knowledge of everything. Let's go.
This will be what I am defining my argument around. Well, maybe not actually, but I think like ultimately, I don't think dating has changed. I don't think relationships have changed. I think that like the tools that we use to engage, and I think that's ultimately what people are talking about. So maybe what I'm saying is like, okay, well, yeah, duh, that's already assumed. But I think sometimes people do get that confused. Where if you like look like, oh, so much easier. People got married and they had their kids and they had a happy life and they stayed together. Those housewives were popping pills, lots and lots and lots of pills.
Like they weren't happy.
They were not happy. Like those relationships were not working for their own reasons. And it wasn't because, just because they had like a marriage license doesn't mean, or there are more marriage licenses out there doesn't mean that dating for some reason at that time.
Because they couldn't leave.
Exactly.
Hey,
she could not get her own bank account. Y'all don't realize like women did not have access to their own like debit cards until like I don't know exactly when, but the women's suffrage did us a whole lot. Bless.
Right. A little bit too much, but we can get into that later.
Whoa. Talk about a hot take. But yeah, I think ultimately like what the tool, like I said, the tools that you're messing with are going to be different, but ultimately like when 2 people, and obviously if it isn't already like assumed, we're talking about mainly hetero monogamous relationships in this conversation. What it takes to be in a healthy, intimate relationship is ultimately the same things. How do you engage and connect with another human? It's the same things.
And I will also add on to that argument where back then, no one was asking the questions we're asking now.
So true.
Marriage back then, if we're going to go from like that standpoint, because people weren't really dating like that. Not like we are now, right?
Right.
So dating right now is a new thing, completely in the last 20 years, which is very, very recent in the grand history of human civilization. And then 2, marriage back then was practical.
Yeah.
Right? There was nothing else to do but to get married and have kids to help you work so you can make a living.
For a lot of human history, like not even to take it way back, but just like, but not to take it all the way back, but just in general, like human history, marriage has consistently been used as a tool. Right?
It's just a practical means of existence.
Yeah.
And again, women got the right to vote, and they got the autonomy to exist separately, which is a beautiful thing in some cases. In other cases, it's a travesty. But that's neither here nor there.
What are you saying?
And the point that I'm trying to make, without those are jokes. Everybody, calm down. At the end of the day, once you take away the practical element of what it means to be with a person, you have to start getting creative as to why you're choosing to be with said person.
Yeah.
So stop being a practical thing where it's like, I need you for an economic reason.
Yeah, we're
now,
no longer.
I need you for like a self-actualizing, self-gratifying reason. You have to bring me some sort of satisfaction beyond just like the material.
Yeah.
I keep saying practicality that people came with, right?
Yeah,
so
100%.
I think that put a challenge on men to be more than what they were at the time, because women finally had a voice to voice out the things that they desired,
right?
More than just I want stability because I can't create stability for myself, and I want to raise children. Do people even want to raise children anymore? I don't know.
I know a lot more people are probably saying that they do not. I'm assuming.
We can, again, that's a topic we can talk about later.
Totally.
But again, furthering that idea, once you start putting this metaphysical, self-actualized type of understanding on what it means to be in love with a person, it puts a lot of pressure and a lot of weight on how you go about choosing the right person.
Right,
because when it's practical, it's easy. Because one, back then, not a lot of people to choose from. And then two, I'm just going to get the person with the biggest pig. I'm going to get the person that has the farm.
Biggest pig.
You know? I mean, remember holes? You know holes?
Yeah.
Like, that's literally the thing that's in my mind.
Look, how many goats you got?
I'm just saying. I'll trade your daughter for like 7 heads of cattle,
oh my gosh.
5 goats, and a pig.
Oh, yes. The good old days when women were property.
I'm just saying. It was easy.
It was easier.
I'm not saying it was right. I'm just saying it was easy.
Right. And there was no conversations of love involved.
And it didn't matter. And if like you wanted to find love, then you would sneak around and you would go out and find the passionate connection that you were missing with the farmer's son or the mayor's, like, you know.
Or you just happened to cross it, right? Like if that wasn't what, you were trying.
Found your fantasy in poetry.
Right,
and
exactly.
The theater, maybe.
Yeah. Oh, yes,
lovely.
indeed.
Shakespeare.
Yes.
You make my heart.
Oh, nice.
All that stuff, Macbeth, all that beautiful stuff. But now it's harder because you have to find that inner person. You need them to love you. You need them to be like your homie. You need them to like make you feel transcendental, evolved.
Explain
like,
that.
Ooh, I want to grow with a person. Right?
Yes.
They're the catalyst to your evolution.
Totally.
And they are
that's a lot.
like your playful childlike person that you are actualizing all your traumas with. They are
inner
your
child.
Yeah, all that stuff. They're your support, your therapist, your all these things
that we are
that
wanting.
come with the I love you, right?
Yeah.
And we don't have a sense of timing when it comes.
Well, it feels like when we think about it, this is something that our generation is really like, not if you think we are the first generation, the millennials and like the Gen Z, figuring out this new style essentially of a relationship. So naturally, it's a shit show.
Yeah, understandably so.
Yeah, I mean, even like thinking about like, okay, like the generations before. I was actually watching this TikTok. I wish I could remember what the girl's name was, but she was essentially saying like, our mothers, essentially the people in the 80s, they were, after, getting, you can now work and have a family and have kids and whatnot, that being kind of the new
arm girl. What's her name?
Exactly. And so they were the generation of being the housewife and the contributor to the household monetarily, and that like whole other stress. And now we're kind of in like this whole other new age, which I know that's more talking about like marriage than dating, but just to say
bring
that,
it back. Don't worry, we'll bring it back.
Yeah, but just more so like just talking about how now we're trying to figure out, okay, so now everyone can have the relation. Now we've all agreed we can have the relationships that we want to have, and that you can exist in whatever way you want. There's no societal like pressures or whatever to be married and settle down and have kids unless you want to. And there's no pressure to, and you can be the boss woman with children or the boss woman without children, whatever. There's just, even in that, in terms of choice, like not only are we have so much choice in who we can choose, but how and what that even looks like.
Yeah.
Right.
And there's no template.
None.
There's no template on what it should look like, which again, harder.
Right.
It's harder because we're really trying to figure it out. And then when it's like, it's layers.
Totally.
If you need all these things to happen and we don't know what it should look like, but we also have this kind of idealized version of what we want it to be.
Right.
How do we even go about it? It's kind of insane.
Impossible, one might say.
They do say it. they literally said it, which is crazy. But like more to your point, I don't think it's as impossible as it seems, because if you sift through the layers, it becomes the same. The things that made a marriage thrive in 1903 are the same things that make marriages thrive in 2023.
Yeah.
We just lost what really that was, right?
Yeah.
And then the red pill people, they take it an avenue, right?
Yeah.
It's like, oh, you have to understand your traditional roles and get back to that strong, stable
biology,
you know, all that stuff. It's like, they say some really crazy things.
Yeah.
Some really, really crazy things. It's like, I see what you're trying to grasp at.
Right.
Not quite getting there, but I see what you're trying to grasp at, because there's some principles that they touch on that did make those interactions work really well.
Right.
But once you put female opinion into the mix, which wasn't really considered back then, how do you synergize the two standards? Because in my opinion, from what I've observed, those productive iterations of past relationships, past connections could not have existed without female influence of some sort.
Like the relationships from like the 1903.
From the 1903, like the Industrial Revolution. Like they couldn't have worked without some sort of female input. Right. Sure, women didn't have like a strong political stage and public front or anything like that.
Right, it was definitely more subtle though. Yeah, women still knew how to get what they
If you had a happy marriage, you were talking to your husband. You had things to say. And you can see, like in the past, their idealized version of a woman was a person that was confident and sensual, submissive, and like kept classy, right? Yeah. But she wasn't like a quiet person that just dragged along. You have to like basically another child to take care of, right?
Right, 100%.
So I think the red pill misses that aspect of it. Whereas like these are the layers that we have to sift through, but it's still the same as it was. It's still the same as it was back then. Yeah. And it's just about kind of holding on to those core ideas and those core practices and applying them to the modern arena, basically.
Which you see people like trying to do for sure. You there's a lot of people who like talk about your divine feminine and your divine masculine and like kind of like the mix of the two. And also like a discourse about how like there's even starting to become like this toxic femininity,
which
you know,
definitely needs to be talked about.
Right, maybe we'll get into that another time because I don't know enough about what people mean by when they say toxic femininity. But I have seen like the videos of those girls who are like, really get in touch with your divine feminine and all this kind of stuff. And it's like, I don't know if that's exactly what we're trying to get at. But the discourse of like kind of getting in touch with even
the foundational principle that applies to those,
and even just like the balance within yourself of the feminine versus the masculine, not even just like feminine and masculine in terms of like two different people, but that kind of like contending with that and being able to then engage in a relationship or the dating sphere when you have like that balance within yourself.
Indeed.
Right.
But in those ideals at the same time, I think the biggest, like when you see a person that's tweeting like it's the most complicated it's ever been.
Yeah, it's a little dramatic.
But it's dramatic, sure.
It's daunting.
It's completely dramatic, but I think it's a byproduct of that ideal meeting the flow of how relationships be.
Yeah.
Like I remember the thing that got me in a more positive outlook on relationships was the conversation that we had when you were talking about how that you in your relationship have reached the stage, a stage of stability that you really enjoyed.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, like a light bulb clicked in my head. I was like, the way you're describing it, I was like, that is the stage that everyone is trying to get to.
Sure. Right.
They want a person that they can just kind of open up to and be themselves with and really enjoy their presence and feel like they're building something together, right?
Totally.
I would be actually really surprised if anyone was like, yeah, I don't want that.
Yep.
In a relationship, I'm dating someone to not find that.
For the vibes.
You know, I think ultimately, if you want somebody, you're going to want like that type of situation.
No, 100%.
But again, how long did it take you to get there? Almost a year, right?
Yeah.
And I think we get disillusioned by that ideal. We want it to be immediately as soon as we start. We're looking for a person that is that. Right. And when we have so many options, the moment something isn't in line with that ideal, we're over it. We're like, well, I can just go find another person. If you can't be that for me right now, I'll find someone who can, but no one can. And that's the problem.
Well, and I think also too, like the problem also is that you don't exist in that, like we're saying, it's a new stage of like stability of like, okay, we just unlocked a new aspect of our relationship, but then there are levels and there are seasons. People will say when you're like in a relationship, you go through different seasons of a relationship, and I think that's also what people I think understand but don't actually understand when they're in that, because in the moment that things are not
perfect.
Exactly perfect, where you're like, you feel completely open with your partner all the time. Obviously, I don't feel that way all the time, right? You have things that happen and the issues that you have, and like that's a part of like a relationship as well. And I think when people, or it's not even like issues, but you're just kind of, as you get to know someone, there are things that you have to like, questions that you have to ask and things that you have to contend with the other person, with yourself, with one another, and how you're going to contend with that in the relationship. And then once that happens, people are like, all right, well, and I gotta go.
Like,
it's no longer sunshines and roses.
This is separate, but kind of related. People can't do that because they can't even do that with themselves.
Ooh, right. Amen.
I'm just saying, like, if you can't even look at your own self and figure out that, once it's brought out inevitably in an interaction, it's like, ooh.
In engaging in an intimate interaction with someone, you are at some point going to be facing a mirror. at some
Everything
point
that bothers you about your partner is issues that you have with yourself.
Exactly.
Within reason.
Right.
Within reason.
Right.
Disclaimer, some of y'all are with some toxic people. And I'm just saying, seek help. You need it. I'm just saying. But assuming healthy. Yeah. Assuming practical.
Yeah. Assuming the average general human.
Generally speaking.
Yeah.
It's a mirror.
Right.
And people can't look at themselves.
Right.
And it's a hard place to be. And it takes time, and people aren't willing to put in the time. So, like, again, more to your point, it's not complicated. It's not hard.
Right.
People just don't have a perception of how to put in that time. Right. In a cultural environment that doesn't necessarily provide the, it doesn't really provide the structure to, like, take your time and maintain things. You get a hit of something immediately, right?
Right.
I want to be entertained.
We have the dating apps.
Yeah. I want to hook up with someone. I can find that. I want to
slide in the Instagram DMs,
or even like you have to like put it into a connection. Like you can filter it just through the internet. Like, oh, like, I want to see someone naked, porn.
Literally.
Like all that stuff, you get instant hits all the time, instant hits. And that becomes like this kind of toxic iteration of just constantly seeking dopamine hits, over and over. And in an interaction with a human being, it's not constant, entertaining, triggering all the perfect things all the time.
Yeah.
And you will find yourself with this boring individual, quote unquote, boring person that isn't triggering all the crazy things in your mind.
Right.
And you will interpret that as the wrong thing to be with because our culture has influenced us not to take the time and understand that not everything needs to be sensational and crazy and like
I lost the butterflies. Where are my butterflies?
Exactly right. No, butterflies are a byproduct of your anxiety.
That's an anxious response,
your cortisol like raging through your brain of this toxicity. These people, this on and off, like, oh, I don't get a hit, now I get a hit. It's like an addictive situation that people find themselves in. And since that is the norm with this new wave of hookup culture and people not really being willing to do the work and peer into their souls and understand who they are.
Right.
They
quiet the noise and look within.
Wow. Whoa. And they think the toxicity is what it's supposed to be. And when they don't feel that, they can't maintain it. And
like,
because
we
have the options, it's like,
it's like the grass is always greener effect for sure. And like you always see even, you know, like you were saying, like you go on social media, you're scrolling, like you see like someone's relationship, like, oh, like, well, my relationship
is
Disneyland.
That's crazy.
Like he did what for her?
He lifted her on his shoulders.
Right.
You never do that for me.
You never do this. My relationship is not perfect. I'm going to break up with him.
You know,
like you're always going to be like, well, okay, they might have it better, or like that person's like hotter or whatever. Like you just have, like you're saying, you have like all of these options all the time.
So everywhere.
What's the solution?
Yeah. What's the solution? Big brain energy. Let's go.
Big brain fart. That's what just happened.
Right. No, that's a huge question. That's a huge question. I understand.
Yeah, no, it is. I think though, like we were just saying, a huge part of that, and I think this is already pretty obvious, but it truly needs to be like expressed. Even I'll start with this. Obviously working on yourself and like having some level of being in tune with yourself, because
go to therapy.
Yes, exactly.
Y'all need it.
Yes.
We need it, actually.
Yeah,
we all do.
We all need it.
Not just you.
Yes.
But me too, kind of.
Right. Kind of. Okay. Well, really.
It's not about me right
really
now. Go ahead. Continue.
And that's like, I don't mean that in like you have to like completely know yourself in like a total way, right, in order to like engage in a relationship. But I think having like some sort of like foundation or like grounded within yourself when you are engaging in dating, I think that's super important. And then you can like go into like, you know, like dealing with, or at least understanding like your insecurities. I think that's like a big one. Like at least understanding what your insecurities, I think is super important. I think something that is not something that maybe people will always say, but given the day and age that we live in, I think understanding your why of why you engage on social media, and like really having like a purpose or a meaning of why, like, okay, I'm going to download Hinge, and like really having like a purpose when you're engaging and when you're doing that.
Do you think that purpose can be as simple as I just want to be in this space? Or is that like not what you're talking about?
I guess it depends, because as I'm saying it too, I think it depends on what the person is looking for. And I think we're at the moment we're talking about dating to then hopefully like people who are wanting to date to be in a long-term relationship. I think that's what we're talking about, not the people who are dating to have a little fun. Right? Sure. And I think with that, like with that, those types of people, I think, I mean, I guess you could say that, oh yeah, let's this is a new medium, a new way to like find my person. Sure, you could do that. But I think then that is then that goes into, okay, well, what kind of person are like you looking for? And then even then going like, what are your values? What do you like believe in? And being,
it gets really intense really quickly.
I know, it's like and I understand why it's daunting, because you're like, okay, do I have to have all of these things figured out? And it's like, in actuality, no.
The short answer is
the
no.
shorter answer is no, and so it feels like, okay, that just wiped out that entire like.
Well, what am I talking
about? Right, what am I talking? I actually don't know what I'm saying.
Piggyback off that, my thing is like, let dating be dating.
Yeah, totally.
I think going on there to have fun, it's like that should be your first thing. Why am I hanging out with you if I'm not enjoying your presence, madam? Totally. That's crazy to me.
Fair.
I'm just saying.
Yeah.
So to kind of cast all these out, right? Don't come with all the cultural expectation,
right?
That people bring, like, oh, I'm on Hinge. What are this girl's values? You can't judge all that by just the Hinge profile. It just doesn't give you the opportunity to do that.
No,
it's impossible. So just answer the question. Is she attractive? Do I think I can have a good time with her? Perfect. Yeah. And then do that for the first couple of dates. And then the things that will naturally bring you together to form a connection, to build a relationship, will naturally happen without you first date. So how many kids do you want? A girl did that to me. She was 30. She was running out of time. Sure, it is what it is.
The biological clock does exist.
But that has nothing to do with me. I don't know you, ma'am.
That is true. That's a pretty intense question to ask on the first date.
What's your last name? Hold on.
Like, you don't even know me to know whether you want to have children with me.
Like,
why are you asking me this question?
Wrong question. How many kids do I want?
Good intent, I think.
I mean,
but
I understand.
Wrong execution.
No, bad intent. Wrong execution, because her intent had nothing to do with getting to know me,
right?
Which is what she should have been doing on a first date.
You're right.
She was just afraid that her time was going to run out. No one told you to wait till you're 30. I don't care if you had shit men for this entire time. That ain't my problem. I'm just trying to get to know you, fam. That's crazy to me, not it. So it's like, let's all just relax. Whether you're 45 or you're 19, just kind of let this receive what the human being in front of you is giving you.
Totally.
And make your decision from there. And you can not many people can do this actually, but if you're able to, try to find a space in your mind to separate what you want versus what you're experiencing. Yeah. And then slowly try to synergize the two, because a lot of the time people, this is pro tips for the women. Yeah. A lot of men will sit back and ask you questions so you can tell him your fantasy, so he can pretend to be that. And he's giving you completely different things than how he actually is, because that's just an easier way for him to exist. Right. So
and then you're sitting there, you actually don't know the guy, and you're like,
but you're
then you're in love and you're obsessed.
Yeah, because you're receiving the thing that you told him that you want.
Totally.
So just like interact with a person, and be present. And
I think that kind of goes into even what you're saying, like also like the women perspective or whatever of, you know, men potentially telling you what you want to hear, yada yada yada. And I think a lot of women talk about not wanting to be confused and constantly being confused in their dating interactions that they have. And a statement that you said earlier, which I super agree with, something to the effect of just like, you know, look at the actions of the people that you're dating, not just the words, right? And that can oftentimes, especially in those first like 6 months, like in that time of dating someone, that usually gives you a lot more answers than whatever they're saying, right? Are their actions of how they're engaging in this dating situation with you matching up with what they're saying? Absolutely. And what they're about, right? And oftentimes the reason why you're confused and why you're anxious about this guy is because
something that is not, fam.
Is because the actions do not line up, and that is why you're anxious and confused.
That's how it goes.
Right.
Listen to your body. It makes the most sense.
Listen to your body. It does give a lot. It does give a lot of cues. I will say that. It is important. Which I think is why I say like being like, being in like trying to be grounded in some sense of being in tune with yourself is like important. Absolutely. You know?
Yeah. Also, and this is kind of like general, I would give dates, like especially online and stuff like that, at least My like minimum is 3.
Go on 3 dates with a person
Before you make a decision, unless it's like the first date is so bad that you can't go on the second one.
There was one time I've never been on like any like absolutely horrible, like horrendous first dates. Oh my God.
I've been on so many bad dates.
Oh wow. We'll have to talk about that another time. But I remember I went on a date with this guy and it was just the best situation ever because it was an hour-long date from the moment like we arrived at the restaurant to me getting home. It was an hour long.
It's actually really short.
It was very short because it was a horrible date. Because we sat there and we could not. The flow of conversation was absolutely horrible.
Nice.
Neither one of us, and it was just the reason why I say it was beautiful and horrible all at the same time was because we both recognized that neither one of us wanted this at all.
But you couldn't like break out of that awkwardness.
Both of us were just like. We both know we're engaging in this out of politeness. No, I wish I did.
To see what would happen.
But I did not. But you could tell that we are both just like, okay, what's the appropriate amount of time to like stay here before we can leave and then never see one another again?
That's crazy because I'm the type of person I've reached the age of like degaffness where I'm the type of person that will call that out immediately. It's like, ooh, this is really painful for some reason.
We cannot hold a conversation.
Yeah, like what is going on? Like, are you okay? Like, is this me? Is this you?
Yeah.
And usually that ends up being like the thing that breaks the ice.
Right. Interesting. Yeah, no, I think with this person, it was...
You just don't want to break the ice.
It was not necessary. Not my cup of tea. I don't think we were each other's...
Let me just finish my drinks and keep it pushing.
Right. 100%. 100%. So...
But yeah, if it's not like that...
Yeah.
Give it like 3 and see what happens. And then on the third one, decide if you want to go longer. And I usually end up dating people like 3-5 times before I decide how I want to exist in their lives.
No,
it's really worked for me.
Yeah, I think that's a good tip just because I think there's a lot of like first date jitters that people get that
First time's never the best.
Literally, apply that rule to everything.
First time's rarely the best.
Yeah, 100%. And usually I have found when I was dating that the second dates were far more fun and far more informative than even the first date versus the second date with my boyfriend now. Our first date, I was like, oh, all right. Our second date, I remember
that change. I remember that change.
I remember I literally went from, oh, okay, I'll go on a second date. Like he was like, I like these things about him.
Cool,
like,
whatever.
Right. After the second date, I was like, oh my gosh.
My God.
He is amazing. Like man. I was blown.
This man is something. Oh my goodness.
You sound like the monsters from Big Mouth.
That's what I was going by. Hey, yo. That's crazy.
Oh my God.
But yeah, no,
that's
true. Really how it is.
Yeah.
And especially as a man where you get ghosted 24/7.
Yeah.
Right. It's really hard. It's really hard to maintain female attention. Right. It's just very difficult to do. They have way more options than you do. There's like 50 guys for every girl that you're talking to.
This is what I hear.
That's just kind of how it is. So it's like there's going to be someone that she connects to or is like a little bit better than whatever you guys have.
Sure.
So it's like the first date, you're trying your hardest. You're not as charming as I am on the first date. You can't pull it. It's fine, whatever. But if she's replying and she is like feeling like you had a good time, that'll give you the energy that you need. Yeah. Like, oh, this second day, now I can really like relax. Like it's cool. Not like I got her, but it's like she's interested enough with me to at least want a second date. Yeah. And it's a nice little confidence boost. So the insecure, lame, like little boy that you found on the first date might be the super suave, charming man. Yeah. If you give him the chance to be.
This is true.
Not everyone can be charming like I am. Yeah. It's a hard thing to master.
Oh, stop.
I had 28 years to be this way.
Right. Anyways, moving on.
You know it's true, Olivia. You know it's true. He says while being very single.
Yeah, right. Right. Who's the one in the relationship?
Everybody calm down. You have 50 guys for every one girl I'm talking to.
Oh my gosh.
Your ratio is higher than mine.
Oh, yes. Anyways. No, yeah. And I mean, that even kind of goes into probably a lot of the pressure that men feel in dating is the need to really perform. And especially in those...
Masculinity itself is kind of a performance.
Yeah. Oh, Wow.
Again, we can touch on that later.
Yeah.
But that's really, I've been thinking about that.
Yeah.
But that's
wow.
Masculinity itself is a performance. Femininity too.
I was gonna say
right?
probably both for different,
but like
different things.
As far as like dating and courtship goes, you kind of do have to be a certain idea of a man to exist in the space effectively.
Yeah. No, it is definitely true. I am not a stranger to that, because even like the expectations that I have of
on these men, right?
Yeah, exactly. I'm
like if they
like, yes,
if they break the illusion too quickly, or like you get the
right.
ick immediately.
Yes, like, please perform for me.
Yeah,
well, yes. Well,
I think that kind of goes with we're socialized to be that way.
Yeah,
you can't just want to, and I learned this too, right? Because philosophy, really like bettering myself, exploring these ideas in a very lofty way. The error that most people have when they're learning things, information that really resonates with them for the first time, self-help and all that stuff, they project that onto the world so that they can like practice their self-actualization, which is like cool. There's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
But you have to realize that most people have been socialized to be a certain way, including yourself, until recently, to exist in a certain mindset, a certain perspective, a certain gaze.
Right.
You can't force your understanding, your lens that you put on, your glasses. You can't force that into other people because it won't translate effectively. So you go out into this. It's like, oh, I don't need to be performing. I need to be myself, this, that, and the other. And you'll find very quickly that people don't relate to that because they're dealing with their own life and their own perspectives that have formed who they are for the last X amount of years,
Yeah.
It's really funny to me. Yeah. I had a great time learning that lesson. It was hilarious.
No, it's true. It's hard to break because it's funny because even now when we have, like we were saying, like all this choice in front of us, and even like choice in information, or just like option in information, like how vast the access to knowledge that we have via the internet.
Google is a thing
that we don't use, or like that we do use, and just wow, I literally just lost my train of thought right in the middle of the sentence.
That's crazy. Come on, find it. You got it.
What did you just say?
The information that people have.
Oh, that was what I was saying. Okay, I got it. The way that like we have like so much access to information, it's just like this like wealth of knowledge that we have access to, and all these different ways that we have now decided to like engage in relationships, people being more open to the idea of open relationships and polyamorous relationships, and just all these like non-traditional things, and how like at the same time, like I don't know, at least that I'm noticing, and I think that this is probably true. Maybe it is not. That a lot more people are kind of going back to like, but I like those like traditional, like more traditional values, or they find themselves like wanting to engage in more of like those traditional style, obviously without the misogyny
and like abuse
and abuse,
right?
Like there's definitely more. It's a new age, it's a contemporary traditional,
but it's still like role heavy and traditionally masculine, traditionally feminine. You work, I'll take care of the kids.
Right. Like
I'll make a home.
Right. 100%.
The bread.
Like when you hear the bread. But no, like when you do hear people talk. And so it's just like, it's interesting where like we still like, this evolution that we have like acquired, and we have evolved a lot in terms of like acceptance of a lot of different types of different relationships, how the heteros still largely engage in those like more
heteronormative
and those heteronormative exactly.
That's why they're heteronormative. Wow. Because like we were saying before, I think there's a foundation that we can't just reject traditionality outright, because it wasn't wrong.
Yeah.
It wasn't wrong.
It was corrupted.
I don't even think it was necessarily corrupted. I just think things changed.
I don't know. I think it was corrupted.
I think the context of our interaction, our connection just expanded a little bit.
Yeah.
And with that, the roles expand with them. Right?
Yeah,
It's not necessarily they were a byproduct of the environment that they were cultivated in.
Totally.
Not necessarily a good thing or a bad thing. Yeah. Just a thing.
Was what it was.
Now the context, the environment changes. And those traditional components assimilate to the culture and the environment. Which is why I think people go back to them. Not necessarily because it's what they saw, not necessarily because it's more familiar or it makes the most sense, but there's grains of truth that exist within those dynamics that one are just natural between men and women and that also make a dynamic that work the most effective. Which if you don't reject it outright, you can take that foundation and build upon it in a way that works for the specificity of your interaction. Right? I think that's where we get lost. I think that's where we get lost. The red pill people are talking about how the tradition is. Yeah, they're talking about what they're talking about. How the tradition is the correct way, and the other side, the female empowerment, feminist type situation, they're talking about how the new way is the only way. And I'm over here like, the traditions are traditions because they work, right? They still created family dynamics. They still created functional iterations of our relationships, our connections, stuff like that. Now that things changed, what can we add to this traditional frame? And like make it a little portrait. Make it a more of a canvas that reflects the
more colorful idea,
a tapestry, if you will.
If you will, if you so incline.
So, I think that's kind of the end goal that we should all strive to achieve. Kind of something in between. It's neither one or the other. It's always in the middle. At least that's my philosophy.
It's literally always somewhere in between.
Indeed.
Yeah. No, this is very true. And even like those relationships. I think that's essentially what you said of just like each individual relationship is slightly different from the next, right?
Because each person is slightly different from the next. Like my traditional frame of how I exist as a masculine man with a girl, whether she's more masculine or feminine, will be different than my brothers, than the homies, than your boyfriends, than anybody. So, and then too, it's like we have such low examples of how to correctly do it in media and all this stuff. Like there's no real correct representation. So you kind of have to understand yourself and figure that out, what works for you in that interaction.
No, 100%. That's definitely, we'll go back to saying you must quiet the noise a little bit, because that's what essentially people are getting stressed out about. I really don't think
there's
that
too much.
It's well, you're too plugged in, you know. It's like you're just way too plugged in, and maybe if you take, I think the best thing that I did for myself was like taking a step back for a bit from dating. Like I made like a conscious decision to do that. And I mean, obviously, and then in life, as you are dating, that ebbs and flows, right? Like you have to plug in and plug out as where you feel needed.
Definitely.
But that act of doing that, I think, is so important, because it is kind of like a recheck and a reset, right? To be able to then, all right, let's tackle the dating apps, or if you want to engage in a more organic way, and
like restaurants and whatnot,
and bowling alleys.
Right.
Where else do people organically? A coffee shop, your local bookstore.
Co-workers.
Yes. Oh, if you want to get messy.
Wink. You know all about that, don't you?
Whoa!
That's crazy to me.
I'm not prepared for that statement. I plead the fifth. Honor. Your honor.
No further statements at this time.
No further statements. No further statements.
No, yeah, it's very true.
Yeah.
Very,
I worked at a
true.
restaurant, okay, guys? That's all I'll say.
Does she need to say more?
Do I need to say more?
Yikes.
No.
Anyways, moving right along.
Yeah, let's skirt around that. Anyway.
That's crazy.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. Yeah, no, dating is tough. It is overwhelming. And I think the ultimate, like, I think when people essentially are having the conversation around, like with yourself, when you're talking about to yourself, why I'm dating and it's so hard. I think the wrong conversation with yourself is is to try and figure out why dating is so hard. That's the wrong thought process to have.
30-second TikToks about what's wrong with your relationship.
Right. Yeah.
When the best place to start is with the human being that's right in front of you.
Yes.
And figuring out what's going on in their mind.
Yeah.
Because there's no, and I think at the end of the day, right, you can come to this idea that a relationship is never an idea that a person has. It's something that you cultivate between two people.
Yeah. That's beautiful. That was really beautiful, Jem. A poet, if you will.
Like I said, I have a way with words. Like it's a thing to do. But no, yeah, it's like it's not an idea that exists in your mind, and too many people are projecting what they want a relationship to be with a person that they're in an actual relationship with.
Right.
And them, the other person on the other side, instead of just communicating and talking about what they want their interaction
in real life, in that real moment, at that real time. Yeah, people will definitely like get hyped up kind of on all that like information that they get on the internet about what to do, what not to do, and like
it's
what to look out for. And blah.
It's designed to do that.
Totally.
100%.
That is what those like. I don't know if they're like hype beast podcasts. I don't know.
I mean, I feel like the information makes you hyper.
Yeah, no, like, exactly. So then you go into those first dates.
Like, oh yeah, this girl should be XYZ to you and treat you like a king. It's like that stuff that really resonates with the community that is not being seen and not being treated with respect and stuff like that.
So then they have an interaction with the girl and they one little thing that might take them off.
Yeah. It's like, no, see, this guy just told me, and that's in their brain.
I should be mad about this. And
it's like, you're not that guy though.
Yeah.
So I'm just saying, you're not that guy. You're not that guy.
Right.
So that's why women are treating you the way they are. Yeah. And maybe you should think about that.
Right.
So you can become that guy.
Right.
But you know,
self-awareness.
Y'all ain't ready for that conversation. Y'all ain't ready for that conversation. That's episode 15. Everybody calm down. That's crazy.
There's a lot that's gonna happen in episode 15. You keep on mentioning it. You keep mentioning.
That is episode 15. I'm just saying. But now,
yeah.
I think that's a good like opening up of the subject, and I think in the next few episodes we can explore the different specificities, because we said a lot of things, but we didn't go into like depth
super detail.
And
no, totally.
Everything that we said has room for elaboration.
Yeah.
So,
no, I agree.
If you guys are down, let us know if you want to hear more about that.
Yes, let us know. Hopefully they enjoyed our little speaky speak, our talk about the thing of things.
I mean, they did until just now, Olivia. Whatever that was, ruined it. Signed off. That was the thing that made them not download our podcast. Thanks a lot for your awkwardness. Amazing.
Or that is the thing that exactly got them to listen.
That helped them.
I'm saying it now.
Yo. Disgusting. But no, I think that would be good for today.
Yeah. I think that was a good chat.
Me
that was
too.
a good chat.
I liked it. And then that will be like, all right, so once again, I'm Jem.
And I'm Renee.
And we're
the Intellectuals.
Signing off until next time.
See y'all.